Welcome to episode 36 of the POG Show, the City of Port Orange News and Information Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Springer, the Public Information Officer for the city. And today I am joined by Sergeant Dean Gaver of the Port Orange Police Department. Welcome, Sergeant Gaver.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And you've got almost 20 years here with the Port Orange Police Department, correct? Coming down from Pennsylvania before making your way down here into sunny Florida?
Yeah, I started December of 2004.
Did you just come here to escape the cold weather? What brought you down to Florida?
Ironically, family. I tried to move down here to be with the other side of the family.
And now you're kind of in charge of the traffic unit we have here for Port Orange Police?
Yes.
Big part of that is traffic enforcement, what we see at our school zones and around our schools. And I know going to this school year, there's going to be a lot of changes around our schools here. What are some things that are going to be different for parents and students driving to schools, walking to schools this year at Port Orange, whether it's Horizon or Sugar Mill? What are some changes they may see on the roads and around the schools?
The biggest change they'll see is the addition of community service officers, or CSOs as we call them. They are there to help keep the roadways moving efficiently, and to do that, we usually will be at the parent gate, the main gate of the school, and help and assist get pedestrians and vehicles in and out of the school efficiently and safely. And
we have 10 schools here in Port Orange. What's some advice you would give to parents and drivers kind of going through those school zones? They come in, they see the lights flashing to slow down. What should they be doing as soon as they see that happen?
As soon as they see that they're in a school zone, obviously reduce speed. Don't have any distractions. No cell phones. A cup of coffee. Don't take a big gulp of a cup of coffee. Which most cups will block your view, even if it's only for a moment. Be very aware. Look for pedestrians. Watch the car in front of you. You never know, what somebody else is going to do. If you see children standing at the edge of a driveway, or you may think they could cross, then assume that they're going to cross and be prepared for it.
It's probably good to either give yourself a little bit of extra time if you're heading out to drop your kids off at school, or if you're in that area of the school zone, you probably don't even want to drive through it at all if you don't have to.
Right. If you're going to the school, yeah, especially the first 2 weeks of school, it's pretty chaotic. The number of vehicles, the number of students being driven, by their parents has increased significantly over the years. Leave a little earlier. Things are going to be congested until they work themselves out.
What about for people who are walking or biking to school? What should they be doing when they enter those school zones? What's some advice you'd give to them?
Head on a swivel. Don't assume that everybody, especially in vehicles, sees you. Stay to the sidewalk. Follow the rules. Just like there's rules of the road, there's rules on the sidewalk, such as bicyclists have to yield to pedestrians. Pedestrians have the right of way. When you come to a driveway crossing, make sure you're stopping to make sure there's no cars coming out of that driveway or turning into that driveway. And just being cautious. I mean, most of our roadways do not have raised curbs. It doesn't take much for a distracted driver to drift off the edge of a roadway. And a lot of our sidewalks, the right of way in between the sidewalk and the street is limited. It's 4 to 5 feet, and it doesn't take but a split second for something to happen.
And, I know you mentioned we're going to have some extra CSOs. We've hired 2 new ones this year to help at Horizon and Sugar Mill. We'll have, is that correct, the extra 2?
Yes, we hired 2 more. We should have a total of 6. Right now, today's the first day of school, so it usually takes about 2 weeks to work things out. We take notes. We just had a briefing after the first AM school zone this morning, briefing with all my officers, my CSOs, what we see at the schools, what works, what doesn't, what we maybe need to go to the school district to work out, some changes we may need to make things flow better. 4 of the 6 elementary schools will have CSOs right now, 2 of the middle and the 2 high schools, and they may change. Sometimes, just as the way it works out, sometimes it's traffic flows better without somebody standing in the middle of the road, because most of the traffic is going through that area and not actually going to the school. So there's a lot of times when they're out there standing and they stop traffic to let traffic out of the school, it actually slows things down.
So for people listening, when you're describing what a CSO does, kind of stopping traffic there, is that similar to what a crossing guard does? Is it different? How do they kind of complement or work with those crossing guards at the school zone?
Well, a crossing guard is only certified to actually stay within the crosswalk and is only certified to stop traffic so that pedestrians may cross that roadway. They're not allowed to direct traffic otherwise. They're not allowed to stop one lane, let another lane go, something to that effect. Community service officers or CSOs are trained in traffic control. They should all be trained well enough that I could take any one of them and put them in any different situation, and they should be able to, whether it's a school zone, whether it's a crash scene, whether it's Williamson Taylor, the light went out during a storm. They're more aware. They're trained better. They have the assistance of the motor officers there if they need them.
So they're a nice kind of a complement to kind of the crossing guards and what they're doing out there as well. Kind of an extra level of protection for pedestrians.
Yeah,
traffic.
The biggest thing for them is they're helping pedestrians, bicyclists. They're helping the vehicles get in and out, trying to keep the roadway moving. But it takes the burden of doing that off of the motor officers or the traffic officers, so that they are looking for people with on their cell phones being distracted. They are monitoring the speed. Anybody speeding in a school zone, they're monitoring if somebody's stopping at an intersection but not stopping till after the crosswalk. They're things we're looking for.
So we're going to have a new one there at Sugar Mill and then Horizon. Any other changes around those schools with traffic patterns or signage or anything like that people should be aware of?
Those two schools in particular, Sugar Mill, the only thing we have done right now is added additional no parking on the one side. Due to the new construction, there's a right turn lane that is not yet built but will be built going into the school. There'll be new signage. There'll be some rapid flashing beacons, which are basically pedestrian signs surrounded by flashing yellow lights. They'll be there. They're actually going to be on the school property for people exiting the school to make them aware. Horizon Elementary has the most changes. We've prohibited parking along the whole one side. We have moved the crosswalk from one side of the school entrance to the other. And we added a couple of additional signs there. None of the other schools, now Atlantic High School is on a county roadway. It's maintained by the Volusia County. They added a school zone this year. We had nothing to do with that. That is a reduced school zone. It's reduced to 20 miles an hour. It has flashing yellow lights at either end.
Is there one more new school zone too?
Yes, the county also put one on Clyde Morris Boulevard at the intersection of Vic Gardens. So Clyde Morris is a county roadway, and then Vic Gardens is a city roadway. There is a reduced school zone there. That's, I believe, also 20, and that is actually coincides with the Sweetwater Elementary times.
How do you decide where to put those CSOs, at which schools and what times? What goes into kind of that scheduling, that decision making?
It all depends. A lot of it is, are there pedestrians that need to cross that main entrance to the school or not? Is there a crossing guard near the intersection, or are the pedestrians being delivered from one side of the street to the other safely? The volume of traffic, is it a 2-lane? Is it a 4-lane roadway? Is there a signal in that school zone? And Spruce Creek High School has a traffic signal to cross pedestrians safely as you can. Or Atlantic High School has no traffic signal.
Does the age of the students, is it different for an elementary school versus a middle school versus a high school, kind of the criteria there? Because you have older kids or kids who may be driving, or do you kind of look at it all the same?
We do look at it different. We put more emphasis on the elementary school because kids are younger. They're not as mature. They still don't make the right decisions. You teach them, parents teach them. Their teachers try to, teach them. As they get older, they should learn more. As you get mature and you're in high school, we shouldn't have to tell you how to cross the street. You should know how to cross the street safely. You should know some of the rules. If you have your driver's license, you've had to have studied that manual, and rules of the road, or at least you should. So yes, we can, as we get higher in the schools, we can back off a little bit, but sometimes the congestion is just so overwhelming that we still need to be there.
And how often do you kind of look at the schools and kind of reevaluate traffic patterns to figure out what's working, what's not working, maybe change it up?
It's really an ongoing thing. We do an annual school zone compliance survey. We do that every summer. As soon as school gets out, we'll start that. And basically what that is every school has an assigned motor officer. Some motor officers have 2 schools. And we're looking for things like faded signs, twisted poles, faded crosswalk markings, faded left turn arrows, things like that. Is there any trees that have grown that are blocking a school zone light? And anything of that nature? Is there pothole? Is there a crack in the sidewalk that could be a trip hazard? All those things combined, and what we do is one officer is assigned to create a report. We include all 10 schools in the report, and even though Spruce Creek High and up until this year Atlantic High was not a school zone, we still include those. And once done, I approve it, and then after forwarding up the chain of command, it is sent to representatives from the city, Public Works, the county, traffic engineering, and we have one school that's actually on a state roadway, Port Orange Elementary, so we send to FDOT as well.
As you were talking about CSOs, I know they play a critical role kind of at our schools with traffic flow there, but they do more than that too. What are some of the other jobs and responsibilities our CSOs have?
They can do anything from, they assist with radar, speedometer calibrations for the police department. They assist with courier services. They can assist with the evidence division, transporting things for them, the detective division or CID. Traffic crashes are a big thing, but they also assist our animal control officers. They transport animals, that we have in the kennel up to Humane Society. They also do parking enforcement, which is a big issue in this city. And there again, we go back to, how it used to be is, you have a house and typically, 10 years ago, the average car, there was 2 cars per house. Well, now that changes because now you have 2 and 3 kids and now you have 5 cars, and people's house, you can't even fit 2 pickup trucks in the driveway without blocking the sidewalk. A lot of these roadways, they're just built to whatever the minimal standards are for the state. And then 4, 5, 10 years later, when their kids are old enough to drive, we have issues. And for years, we have been reactive to a lot of our neighborhoods, which means we don't go in looking for parking violations. We wait till somebody calls and complains. Now that we have enough staffing, we have 6 CSOs. Now we have the opportunity, we can go into some of these areas before the complaints come in and we try to address the parking issues. How does
that kind of help the situation, taking that more proactive approach through the education and talking to drivers? Do you see that kind of lead to a decrease in issues, or how is that kind of? It
does. The city has their online, they call it See-Click Fix, where a resident can go online and file an issue, whether potholes or traffic signals not working or parking issues. They have gone down for us significantly. We get complaints in neighborhoods, a lot of time either from certain residents or HOA themselves will complain. We don't enforce HOA rules at all. We only enforce our city ordinances on our public roadways. So we don't go into gated communities and do parking. If it's a private roadway, we don't do any enforcement in there, but just public roadways. And a lot of it is letting the people know. It's education. So we don't just go in and write citations right off the bat. We'll leave a courtesy notice on the car. If we can make contact with the resident, we will. If we knock on a door, nobody answers, we leave what we call a door hanger. It's a name, phone number, and this is why we're here today.
Are people pretty receptive to that approach, or?
They are, but we run into a lot of I've been parking across the sidewalk for years, and now all of a sudden you want to do something about it. Well, things are getting worse, and if we don't address it now, it's only going to continue to get worse. A lot of what I hear is, well, I park my car across, the sidewalk doesn't extend through my driveway. Well, yes, it does. And I can show them where in city ordinance it says that. So, if they don't leave that opening, especially for, ADA compliance or for a disabled person, that person now has to get off and walk through the grass, and if there's a curb, down the curb, out in the street, and then back on again. And that's the one we get a lot of pushback from for some reason. Or I only block the sidewalk at nighttime. Who's out there? Nobody should be out there walking that late at night, and it just doesn't make sense. If the tables were turned and it was one of their relatives that had to walk out in the street, they would want something done. And that's what we try to say. Hey, just think about if the shoe was reversed, and so being proactive, yeah, it's stirring things up a little bit, but I think in a good way. The education is really going, we try not to write citations, but they also, my CSOs know, I've instructed them that when you go there, you put the address in there, and if you've seen they've been warned multiple times, well, obviously that's not working. We need to take the next step.
It seems like CSOs are kind of a good way to get your foot in the door if you want to kind of maybe look at a law enforcement career. It seems like you get a taste of kind of the different aspects of what it is to be a police officer. If people are interested in that career path of being a CSO, what can they do? How can they get involved? What are the requirements?
Just keep looking at the city's website. I mean, when we have an opening, we'll post it, and we do. I mean, it seems, it is a good stepping stone for law enforcement or another job. I mean, it is a secure job. I think you get decent pay, you get benefits, health benefits. You work for a great city, great police department. Yes, if you want to be in law enforcement, it is a good stepping stone because it helps you get out there and actually interact with people. Instead of just going to the police academy and then being thrown out there. You get to interact with people, you get hands-on, doing some traffic enforcement, and you get that learning, and you get yelled at. You learn a lot when you get yelled at by somebody directing traffic, you know what I mean? It's being in the moment and learning and being mature enough to learn and adapt and change and grow, as opposed to just being, living at home and then wanting to be a cop. As you get into parking enforcement, of course, it would help you later with, traffic stops and those sort of things. And it is a good stepping stone for that.
And like you said, Sergeant, they can always go to the website, www.port-orange.org, click on that tab for jobs and see if there are any openings there. Is there any age requirement for CSOs, just 18 and older? Or
it's 18 and older, and, it's good for younger, but it's also good for the retired person that's still in good shape, maybe retired early, needs a job or wants to help. It's also good for that because I like both sides of it. Yes, it's a nice stepping off point if you wanted to transfer, not only for police, but somewhere else within the city, but then I have to replace them. So it is a revolving door in that respect for the stepping stone part, where I get the person that's already retired from one career, and they tend to want to stay in that position for a longer period of time. Yeah.
Anything else you want to touch upon, Sergeant, or let people know when it comes to school zone safety or anything like that, or CSOs and their work?
The biggest thing is to have patience. Patience, be cautious, be courteous. Please be courteous. We today was the first school zones this year so far. There's a lot of horn honking, a lot of people yelling at each other, and we're doing our best to get them into the school and out of the school and get you through the school zone if you're not even going to that school. It's just, be aware. You're driving a 3,000 or more pound vehicle, and it's dangerous. Just be safe.
Appreciate it, Sergeant. Thank you so much. And Mick, take us on out.